supported industry standards. So unless SIP goes away, SIP is going to be around for a long, long time. And if there's another codec that comes into play or another protocol that comes into play, someone in the community is going to build that protocol and add it to the code base. Adoption of Asterisk is expanding year over year and bringing ever more third-party applications to support. As I mentioned earlier, the Asterisk Exchange, there's so many people who are continuing to innovate and create applications. Open source solutions allow for rapid adaptation to market and technological changes. I mean, you go ask Cisco for a particular feature, and they may say, oh, for $200,000 and 6 months of development time, we'll be happy to give you that feature. With open source, with Asterisk, you can probably find somebody in the community to develop that feature for you instantly. And we've been around since 1999 as Digium, and Asterisk has the backing of a real live company. And lastly, I call this the castaway. Vendor questions the supportability of the technology by suggesting there aren't professional options available for support. Might sound like, do you really want to have to hire a Asterisk expert to maintain your phone system? If you don't, how do you know you'll have access to the support you need in the future? There's a wide variety of support options available for Asterisk, including support from Digium, including support from the community, including you, and those around who have experience with Asterisk. By the way, I'll just make a plug for Digium 5-day training and DCAP certification. So they're actually, what? Okay. And so you can become DCAP certified, a Digium certified Asterisk professional. And once you're certified, you're listed on our website, and you're known in your community as an expert in Asterisk. And SEC training actually can talk a little bit more about that. The standards-based IP network aspects of Asterisk allow for comprehensive remote support solutions. And there are numerous commercial implementations of the technology, such as Switchbox, even Elastics and Trixbox, and everybody that's out there that with the same documentation and support as any other solution. Okay, so in summary, support for standards provides inherent interoperability and choice. Open source attribute provides inherent extensibility, extensive feature set, and wide variety of support methods and options. So, all right, where's all this headed? So where do we see from the Asterisk community all of this headed? A continuing migration from TDM and analog phone technology and service, obviously, towards SIP and voice over IP. Telecommunications expanding to include new media types such as video, text, desktop, bringing all the UC features together into one package. A rush to cloud architectures where Asterisk is being used quite a bit. And higher expectations for capabilities and reliability in IP communications networks. So to go to the cloud, to go to VoIP, the network also has to be very, very solid. And I don't know how much time I have, so just really quick, let's talk a minute about Asterisk itself. Currently, the code base that we have in the highest level is Asterisk 10. And before that, we had Asterisk 1.8. And everybody's asked, well, what happened to 1.9 and what happened to 1.10? And we thought 1.10 sounded strange. So we took the 1 dot away and we just made Asterisk 10. And we just think that sounds cooler than Asterisk 1.10. Okay, which was released in December of last year and will be supported until December of 2012. Which will then move into security mode, and then the next version of Asterisk will be Asterisk 11. So really, last year was a kind of a rebuilding mode for Asterisk. There's a lot of things that needed to be done. which we finally we finally had added. And here's just a few of those things that we think makes Asterisk 10 very viable in the market. A new HD media engine, better telephony grade audio. We've added a lot more codecs and complex codecs and a lot more sampling rates, so you get higher quality in your audio. So we added wideband speaks codec, Skype Silk codec, as well as support for Celt, and Polycom codecs 7 and 14. And also we revamped our Conference Bridge application. and the old Conference Bridge application is still there and can still be used, but it did not really allow for some of the wider band codecs to be utilized in a bridge application. So now we can actually use some of the high definition codecs in the Conference Bridge. So you're not having to downgrade to a lesser codec when you're in Conference Bridge. You can still maintain your wideband codecs in that bridge. And then we added video conferencing, sort of. So it's not quite video conferencing, but I'll explain how it works. Suppose you have 4 desktop video phones sitting on your desk, and you have 4 people who are talking and want to be in a video conference. So the person who's speaking, the video is broadcast to the 3 other users on that application. When he finishes speaking and somebody else speaks, then Asterisk will broadcast that person to the other 3 people. So Asterisk actually listens to who's speaking and then will quickly switch and drive media out to the other 3 who are silent. So it's kind of a simulated bridge. It works really well. We don't know how many users you can put on it because we don't have enough video phones internally to really try. But we think that's a really, really cool application. And Asterisk 11, there's a lot of things that we want to do. This is just a list of some of the things that are in development now for Asterisk 11. So what else are we doing? So just really quickly, there's some really cool new products that we've developed for the Asterisk space. And a couple people have actually asked me about SwitchVox, which I think is kind of neat. But as I mentioned earlier, SwitchVox is our unified communication platform. So it's a turnkey product. So you have all the features such as user interfaces, you have an admin interface, you have a user portal, you have mobility applications. For example, I can pull out my iPhone, my Android phone, and I can actually pull up an application. I forgot to change my, my greeting, or I want to check my voicemails, or I forgot somebody's extension. I want to look at the directory of everybody on my SwitchVox server. So we put everything in UC together into one platform to make it easy to use for those who might not want to do all the Asterisk integration themselves. We've done it for you. Then we recently introduced a high-density E1 card, an octal 8-port card, which you can see on the table. And then we introduced something called an R series, which is a failover device. Okay, so there's not a lot of applications out there or products that allow you to have TDM failover of E1 analog or BRI signaling. So with these 2 ports, primary and secondary, this box will actually monitor the Asterisk server. For example, you bring your E1s in here, and this would go to your master, and this would go to your secondary server. When the monitoring notices that, oh, the primary server is down, it will actually tell the secondary server to switch over, and will switch all the E1s over to that secondary server. So you have TDM failover. Also, we've introduced a line of Asterisk gateways. Obviously, these don't even need to be used in the Asterisk. They can be used in any application where you want to convert TDM to SIP, where you might want to do conversions as well, or transcoding, for example, G729, or you want to create fax gateway using T38. You can use that with the new Digium gateways. And lastly, we have just announced a month ago a new line of Asterisk-based phones. Okay, and you can't really see it, but my luggage is still at the airport, and it's supposed to be here in an hour. And if it does arrive, I'll have all this on my table out there for you to see. But right now, I only have pictures. But when I have the phone, you'll see that there's actually an Asterisk logo, an Asterisk symbol right there. So we've created very tight integration with Switchbox and with Asterisk. And with open source Asterisk, we have what we call the DPMA module. Okay, right now it integrates with free PBX. We'll also have integration with Elastics. And for those who just use open source, we have a toolkit to help you do the integration in open source. So when you plug a phone into an Asterisk network, it will find all the Asterisk servers. You select which server it's on, and boom, it'll come up with all your contact lists, with all your BLF keys. Everything will be done for you, and there's no additional programming that has to be done. So that tight integration, we felt like was necessary in the market space. Okay, at that, I am finished. I appreciate your attention and your time. I will be out at the Digium space over here, so please, if you have any questions, come by and feel free to ask me anything. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Do we have any question?
Yes, no? I did such a good job.
Yeah, I think so.
There's no question.
Thank you, Greg.
Okay.